Today, we're talking about the three types of boundaries we need in our lives and why they matter, right? Because they do matter. That's why I'm talking about them. So I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here. Whether you're watching it live or on the replay, I want to talk about it because they're crucial for our well being and our relationships, right? Boundaries. And specifically, I'm going to be discussing the three types of boundaries we need in our lives. They matter so much. The first one I want to talk about is physical boundaries. These boundaries define our personal space, right? They're the physical limits we set with others. Physical boundaries include things like personal space. Boundaries are like personal property lines. They define where you end and others begin. They're the invisible lines that protect our physical and emotional space. So that's why we're talking about these three types of boundaries. And the first one, like I said, is the physical boundaries that define our personal space and the physical limits we set with each other, right? So these physical boundaries include things like personal space, touching, and the use of our belongings, the use of what belongs to us. And they matter because they protect our sense of safety and comfort. They allow us to determine who can enter our personal space and who can't. By setting these clear boundaries, we communicate our needs and expectations, and ultimately, that enhances our relationships. Then we need emotional boundaries. These type of boundaries are about safeguarding our feelings and emotions. They help us distinguish our emotions from others and decide when and how to share them. And they also protect our well being and sense of comfort and self esteem. So we have to protect them because if we don't, people can basically kind of barrage us with their emotions or with feelings and things, say things about us that we take in and have emotional connections to that can help us sabotage ourselves. So we have to be very careful what we let in our emotional space and in our mental space, right? Emotional and mental boundaries kind of keep us protected from people that would suck out our energy and our space and keep us from feeling good about ourselves. So we have to really hone in on those. They enable us to maintain a healthy emotional balance to stay mentally sane. And when we have these strong emotional and mental boundaries, we can support others without becoming emotionally drained or overwhelmed. And they help us navigate difficult situations and still maintain our self esteem. That's just really important. It's extra important as a woman or a person of color in this country right now because there's so much things that hit on us that if we can't keep our boundaries strong, it can break us. You know, in America, we like to say, whatever doesn't kill us make us stronger. But there are some things that doesn't kill you, but it does break you. And so you have to be able to keep your boundaries up to protect yourself. And then the third one is time, right? We have to have boundaries around our time. We've touched on boundaries and what they are, and we've shared that the first two boundaries are physical boundaries to protect our personal belongings, our body, right? Our homes. And then the second one is the emotional and mental boundaries because they enable us to keep a balance, a mental and emotional balance when everything is happening to us. And that helps us also maintain our self esteem. And right now we're talking about time boundaries because those are all about how we manage and allocate our time. So they involve setting limits on our commitments and making sure we have time for ourselves because self care is so important, right? People talk about it, but self care and time boundaries so that we can give ourselves that self care help us avoid burnout. It helps us maintain a sense of control over our lives. And When we set clear time boundaries, we can prioritize that self care, pursue our passions, and spend quality time with our loved ones, right? And this ultimately leads to a more balanced and fulfilling life. Because if you're just rushing around doing what everybody else needs and not taking care of yourself, it gets hard in a heartbeat. And you feel burnt out, you feel stressed, you feel drained all the time. And you usually are dealing with low self esteem and low comfort, low abilities to function and do the things you want in your life. And we talked about the three boundaries, and now we understand why they matter. So you have to implement them in your daily life, though. So just talking about them without doing anything isn't helpful. So the first thing is to communicate your boundaries. It's essential to communicate them to others in a clear, respectful manner, but standing your ground. Let them know what you're comfortable with and what you're not, right? You can say, I need some time alone this evening, or I'm not comfortable discussing this topic. You can set these boundaries and they're up to you, and you don't have to worry about hurting people's feelings. These boundaries are for you. So you're going to try to say them nicely and kindly, but you're going to mean them and you're going to enforce them, and you're going to be consistent because consistency is key. Once you establish your boundaries, you got to stick to them. And it sends a powerful message that your boundaries are non negotiable, right? And that's really key to what you need to do for yourself. And that gives you the opportunity to prioritize self care, to reinforce your boundaries, and take time for yourself so that you can recharge and maintain a strong sense of self, right? So that you can keep your self esteem going and feeling good. And you have to respect other people's boundaries too. So just as we want our boundaries respected, we have to respect the boundaries of other people because it's a two-way street. But when you can do that, it makes your life way less stressful and way more productive. So, in summary, there are three types of boundaries: physical, emotional, and time boundaries, but they're essential for our well being and the health of our relationships. Okay, they help us define who we are, protect our personal space, and maintain a sense of balance in our lives. I encourage you, all right, to reflect on your own boundaries and consider where you might need to set clearer limits. Because remember, boundaries are not about building walls, they're about creating healthy, respectful connections with others, right? So, thank you guys for being here. I hope this talk has inspired you to take a closer look at the boundaries in your life. And I look forward to talking with you guys more about it in the community. All right. So take care, enjoy your day, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye.